Hi, I'm Travis.
And I'm Greg.
And you're listening to Building Blank,
a collaborative world-building podcast.
And today we're talking about forests.
And then we're going to finish up Clearwater Crossing.
All right, so today we're talking about forests.
Yeah, and this is our new remote recording, Travis?
Yeah, so on Thursday, when the restrictions came out, we scrambled to get the recording software set up with Zoom. So we are recording over Zoom, and hopefully the audio quality is acceptable.
Yeah, so apologies if that is.
Yeah, it can only get better from here, though. With that, I just want to say I hope everyone's staying safe, and let's dive into forests.
All right. Okay, well, should we start with the definition or a working definition?
Yeah, so what is a forest, Greg?
Yeah, because I wanted to find a specific definition that would encompass kind of everything I was looking for. So I found one on Wikipedia, but is defined as land spanning more than 0.5 hectares with trees higher than 5 meters, which is 10 feet roughly, and a canopy cover of more than 10%. And I really like this one because then you know the exact size of it is, like how much area it takes up, how tall it is, and how much canopy there is.
Okay, that's the baseline.
Yeah, because every other definition of forest was just going on about trees basically, but I wanted something that could also include things that are not trees, like for example bamboo forests, which are actually a type of grass. And then although not on Earth, but in a lot of fantasy settings, you could have like a mushroom forest.
Yeah. So I think mushroom forest, like giant mushrooms and stuff, are very like fantasy staple.
Yeah, but so you couldn't have a mushroom forest unless it was more than half a hectare, and it would have to be 10 feet tall with a canopy cover, 10%.
So if you have those size of mushrooms, you could have a mushroom forest.
Yeah, and it's important to know that like the canopy cover and stuff, like it's not that critical, but if it was less than that, it would be something like a savanna where the woods are much more spaced out with grass kind of undergrowth. So a forest that's what we're talking about for the forest.
Yeah, you're looking for the baseline 10% cover and the size.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And so with that, there's some different size classifications. Where do we start when we talk about the size of a forest, and what are they called?
Yeah, so we're just going to go with forest is everything over the 0.5 hectares or the 1.25 acres. But then there's a couple little things under that. The smallest being a copse, which is just a small group of trees. And then there's a grove, small group of trees with no undergrowth. And then a hammock, which would be that's one that just kind of stands by itself. So you would have a hammock of trees in the prairies, where it's just all prairie and like
a bunch of trees.
Yeah. And then although in the prairies, I don't know about you, but I've heard people call that a bluff.
Yeah,
bluff of trees.
But
anyway, that's more of a mountain term.
So,
but anyway, then after that, you'd have a stand, which is it's all basically the same species of trees. You'd have a stand of oak trees, and then then a thicket would be a very dense stand. Yeah, like you could have a grove for sure within the forest itself. Yeah. Like a hammock wouldn't, because it has to be outside of a forest.
But a grove, because there's no undergrowth in this particular section, that's what makes it a grove.
Yeah. I think you could have a stand as well. Like within a forest, you could have a part that is just all, I don't know, birch or oak or something.
Yeah. That's interesting, because you could also have a combination of the two, like a grove that is also a stand.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so a lot of it is interchangeable.
But
cool. But if you're using any of these sizes, by themselves,
they're not a forest.
Yeah, like a hammock would have to be, by definition, under a half a hectare.
Yeah. It's like, the bush out at the back of my parents' place, right?
Oh, yeah. What do you think you'd call that?
Like the stuff like between the houses, right? It's like, it's a cluster of trees, bit of a bush. I'd probably call it a hammock.
Yeah.
But then the big section of trees by the beach on Moonlight Bay, that would be probably...
Yeah, it could be.
Because I don't know exactly how big like the land area it is, but it's very like dense in there.
Yeah, that is true. So I think it would be a thicket, and then if we measured it, it'd be pretty close to a forest, I bet.
Yeah, I don't think it's big enough to be a forest, but there's a lot of underbrush in there. And I mean, you and I spent a lot of time as kids running around that bush.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
They had that kind of ditch in there that was the creek almost in there.
Mm-hmm. But, all right. So when we're talking about forests, there's a couple different types of forest. And the immediate ones that come to mind are tropical, temperate, and boreal.
Yeah, those are the big three.
Yeah.
Like if you have any forest, it is those three. Like those are the three types that come in on Earth.
Okay.
You could have a different one, but yeah.
But then they like branch off down from there, down the tree, right?
Yeah, so to speak.
All right. So what is the difference between them?
Well, the difference is like their latitude, right?
Okay.
Like the tropical forest, you're only going to find right around the equator.
Okay.
Right? And your temperate forests are going to be in your mid-latitudes, like Eastern North America and Central Europe, like Western and Central Europe, that kind of latitude. And also on the south as well, right? Like in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, yeah. So for both sides.
Then the boreal forest is just the same. It's just higher up, like further north.
Okay.
Yeah. And the boreal forest is just like that big pine tree kind of forest that takes up the whole northern Canada and like Russia.
Yeah. The boreal forest. And then after that, we get into the tundra type of biome. Talking about boreal forests, they can also be called taiga. Taigas?
Taiga or taiga?
Taiga. I really like that word.
Yeah, it's a cool word.
I prefer calling it a taiga. I think it just doesn't get used a lot here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they call it in Russia. I know for sure.
All right. So you also wanted to talk about something else.
Yeah, there's another sort of
subtype?
Biome, subtype. It would call the montane forest. Also could be known as a cloud forest. And so that's literally, I like thinking of it like montane as mountain forest.
Okay.
Because basically when there's the thing called orographic lifting. And that's when an air mass is forced from low elevation to a high elevation.
Okay.
And then it cools down, gains altitude, turns into clouds, and then can turn into precipitation. And then that's basically because of all that precipitation, it creates a forest.
Okay.
And and so you're going to get it where a mountain is, and then it's going to be on the windward side, and then that forest, that would be called a montane forest. And then you could have it, I think you could have it in any of the three flavors. Like you could have a montane tropical forest, you could have a montane temperate forest, or a montane boreal forest.
Okay, so as long as it's like basically on a mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that's pretty much it.
So what kind of tree what kind of trees are we looking at for tropical?
Okay, so what we're looking at for tropical are
leafy, right?
Yeah, broad-leaved evergreen trees.
Okay.
Are is the official title for tropical rainforest.
Okay, so they're broad-leaved and evergreen, which we don't get here.
Yeah. Evergreen meaning that it's just always green.
Okay.
Right.
And then temperate you're looking at.
Yeah, temperate you can either have the broad-leaved, like deciduous.
Okay.
Or you can have the needle-leaved.
A mix, or
yeah, you can have either or.
Okay, cool. And then boreal is it the same, or is it mostly conifer?
Mostly conifer, and then there's also there's actually a deciduous conifer tree called the tamarack.
Okay.
So it actually changes color and loses its needles in the fall.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Like a broad. Yeah. Yeah, no, we got tons of them around here. So anytime you see a spruce tree looking thing in the winter that looks dead, it's probably just a tamarack.
Oh, I just assumed they were dead. That's cool. Well, you know what they say about assumptions. All right.
So yeah, you'd have evergreen, needle-leaved evergreen, and coniferous in the boreal forest mostly.
Okay, cool. Or the taiga.
Or the taiga. Yeah.
The taiga. I really like that word.
Maybe because it just sounds like you're saying tiger, but you're like with a Boston accent.
Aye, you taiga, get back in the cage. Get back in the forest. You taiga. I don't even know if that's Boston accent. That's so bad.
That's okay.
All right, so tell me about a forest in your world that you've built.
Okay, and like which type it would go under.
Yeah. So for an example.
So I named one. It's called the Barbaros Forest.
Barbaros?
And it's a boreal forest because my my book takes place in the north.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively. And so when hero first comes to it, he's actually coming right to the tree line, and then that pretty much from there, yeah. But that's it. It's just a lot of pine trees and stuff.
Yeah, there's no special features or anything.
Not yet. No. Like special features, how?
Like I was wondering if there's anything like special or some like
notable
crazy things in there.
No, it's pretty run of the mill as it stands now. How about you?
Cool. Yeah. So the only like forest that I have is called the Great Aldarian Taiga. So the Aldarian Empire in my world, they're very much based on the Romans, and everything they do is like they label themselves as like great.
Okay.
You know, that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like a boreal forest. It's also a montane forest now that I know what that is. But then it kind of like, it's so big that it then starts drifting into temperate because it takes up most of the space of the empire with only like chunks that are clear grassland.
Okay. So would it be a temperate rainforest because of it being a montane forest?
I think so.
Think? And so a temperate rainforest would be like basically the redwoods in California.
So I basically I based it off of driving through the mountains in BC.
Okay.
So that's kind of like what I based it on, and then it's just this massive forest that pretty much covers almost the entire empire region. It's kind of in this little box.
So all that air would just come in there and just get kind of trapped.
Yeah. Just
watering this giant forest.
Yeah, and I think there's mountains to the north as well. So there's this like literal box.
Cool.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about it being a rainforest until we were doing notes about this meeting, or this episode.
Yeah, and I think we might have to think about that when we're talking about our forest that we just made.
Yeah,
as well. But we'll do that after the break, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is giving me a lot of thoughts on what that's going to be. Is there anything else you want to add to the section? Any?
Well, Well, I mean, we could talk about rivers, but we could also just make that another episode.
Yeah, I think there's enough content there that can be its own episode. So I think we're going to do that next week, actually.
Okay.
Is my plan, my tentative plan.
Yeah. No, basically we just got, we found a way to define a forest.
Yeah.
Right? Like by the size, by its latitude. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's bordered on mountains to the south and the east, and then the ocean to the west. By which side of the mountain it's on.
Yeah, and then whether there are any mountains or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good starting point. Like we can use all those things when we start talking about world building after the break, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. So that sounds good. Right, yeah. So I guess then we'll take a break and we'll see you guys after. All right, and welcome to the break.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So today we're going to give a shout out to our good friend Nick. Nick is on Twitch streaming a game called Tibia. And what is Tibia, Greg?
Tibia? Well, I think, when did you say it came out in 97?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and not to be confused with the leg bone, which goes by the same name, right? Tibia.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a 2D game, tile-based MMORPG set in an open fantasy world. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and our friend Nick plays that on Twitch. He is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's under the username
like
Nixter.
the lockdown.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just like if the lockdown's getting you down, go watch Nick. He'll lighten up your day for sure. I bet.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, and if you like what we do, you'll probably like watching him play that. His username is Nixter303. And yeah, he streams on Twitch. So go check him out.
All right. What else? Well, we got some comments that we're going to talk about after the break.
Yeah. So, so if you guys, want shout outs, if you want us to let people know what you're doing, let us know. You can find us on Facebook, Building Blank Collaborative Roller Building Podcast. You can hit us up on Instagram at Building Blank Podcast, or you can send us an email at buildingblankpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll give your project a shout out. Right? Is there anything else you want to talk about this break?
No, I think that's good.
All right. With that, we'll get back to the show. Or like Bradford's shipping service. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something clever. I like Clearwater Depot.
Yeah, probably just called the Depot.
The Depot. That's what people call it. I like to think he buys furs and stuff from hunters and ships them down to wherever they're going.
Yeah, I like that. So furs. And
ships
his wife
medicine,
does medicine,
or herbal whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So now if we work out from that, what other kind of buildings do you think we'd have? Like we got the barracks or the bunkhouses, if you will. Did we agree that there'd be a sawmill or not?
At least like a lumber yard or a sawmill. Yeah, I think we did talk about having a sawmill. At least a small one.
Do you think there'd be a designated hunter's place, or do you think it would just be maybe there's that's not as organized?
I don't know. What do you prefer? We could have a hunter's hall, or like a hunter. Yeah, like a hunter hall or something, or we could just be folks that come in and bring stuff in. What do you prefer?
Yeah. Well, by the hall, what do you mean would be in a hall?
We
already got Bradford as the hub, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's more in this one because it's a smaller location. I think it needs to be more independent.
Yeah. No, I like that too.
Right. So Hunter Greg brings in a bunch of furs and some meat to the depot, gets whatever for it. Depot then sends it down the river or up to Moneylog, whichever way it needs to go.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about probably not a blacksmith.
Yeah,
being here.
Yeah,
but if we do have, right, because this is where the road goes from river to ground.
Yeah.
So you're probably gonna have a lot of horses, right?
Yeah. So like a farrier.
So yeah, I think there would have to be some pretty good stables and a farrier.
Okay, I like that.
And I'm just thinking, like, how much of this stuff needs to be named,
Yeah, that really depends on the setting. I do like naming everything. It helps me with my notes and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. We already talked about this.
All right, so who runs the stables? And we're back.
Right on. Okay. Now we get to do some world building.
Perfect. But first, I do want to go over some listener comments. Last week we asked you guys to help us with names for their forest. So Boone on Instagram says, what if there was some sort of sacred tree or grove and the forest was named after that? It could be called the Heart Tree Forest or something like that, which is a great idea.
And now we know what a grove is, right?
I like the idea of having a sacred grove or a sacred tree or something in the middle of the forest, deep within. I like that idea. And then Lee on Facebook gave us a bunch of suggestions again. I love that Lee gives us so many all the time. All right. I was wondering if the people east of the mountains and west of the mountains would be from different lands / countries. If so, having a name for each half of the forest could make sense. So you wanted to talk about that a bit, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I'm assuming she's talking about like the map I made, right?
Yeah.
Where I got the mountains and then on either side there'd be a forest.
Yeah.
Well, after doing all that, going into that biome rabbit hole I went into, I realized there's probably only going to be a forest on one side. Probably going to be a montane forest, right?
Yeah.
And from the research I was doing, if you're in the northern hemisphere, the montane forest is more likely to be on the west side of the mountains.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking, and then let me know if you think this is a good idea, is we'll have the west side just be the forest, and then on the east side we could have a mix between like temperate grassland, badland, and desert. Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to like the map that we made, it's subject to change. As because how we build this, specifically this, we are just brainstorming. This whole second half is unscripted. So I think you made it that way just so it looked nice for the world amble.
Yeah, I was just making it. Also, we hadn't defined what hemisphere we're on in this world or anything.
Yeah.
Because like if we're in the southern hemisphere, I think it gets reversed. So the montane forest is more likely to be on the east side of the mountains because of the jet streams.
So I think, that map is always subject to change. It's subject to grow.
Yeah. Well, no, I think we're going to keep updating it like probably by the week. Like
exactly. It's going to get changed and updated every week. So thank you, though. That is a great suggestion, but I don't think we're going to have forest on both sides. But she continues on and gives us a bunch of options. Gnarled oak wood, black rock forest, dryad's hame, brackets home, iron log glen, which I really like, and the uncountable woods. I really like iron log glen. It kind of fits with our bunny log mountain digging theme.
Well, that's the only maybe issue I have with it is, does it sound too much like bunny log? You go from bunny log to iron log. You know what I mean? Might kind of cause confusion.
I like it. I think it fits a theme. But we could do whatever. She also says, I also want to mention that another resource within forests is medicines, which I didn't even think of, but she is totally correct. Lots of plant medicines can't be farmed and only grow in forests.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a very good point, and I love that you brought it up. So we're gonna have to figure out who's collecting those plants.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks again, Lee, and
thanks, Lee. Thank you, Boone. We appreciate any comments, any suggestions.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I like the iron part of that. It's just I just don't know if I like the log part of it. You know what I mean?
How about iron wood?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we can
or iron tree.
A different. Yeah, and then instead of Glen, like we can kind of mix that with
Boone suggestion, like merge the two.
Suggestion, and make it a grove instead. So yeah, we can do something iron something or something iron grove, and then that would maybe lend its name to the rest of the forest.
Okay. Like I like how about iron wood or iron tree? Kind of mixes the two.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that too much iron?
I think it's fine.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I like iron tree.
Iron tree. Okay.
Just because in Game of Thrones they have that ironwood.
That's true. We don't want to mess with that. So iron tree forest or iron tree grove? Iron tree forest.
Well, yeah, it would be a forest, but I think maybe there is an iron tree grove within the forest, but the rest of the forest just gets its name from that grove.
Idea. So we have a name for our forest.
Okay, cool. So we got the Carapace Mountains, runs down the Clearwater Rush, right?
Clearwater Rush is the river.
Flows down the Carapace Mountains into the
Iron Tree Forest.
Tree Forest.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like it. Perfect. All right. So
I think we got to define the forest a little bit now.
Yeah. So
like which biome, you know?
I was thinking that it would be it's a montane forest already.
Yep.
We were talking about being temperate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking northern hemisphere because that's kind of what we know.
Yep.
Right? Northern hemisphere, temperate, montane, maybe like a temperate rainforest type.
Yeah, I think that's a good
kind of what I've been picturing this whole time, unless you have any other ideas. What do you mean?
Well, like temperate rainforests in the northern hemisphere are like almost all pine needle leaved or needle leaved.
Okay. What's the problem with that?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I'm just stating. You're saying that. I'm saying, okay, it would be this then.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Like, are you agreeing, or do you think it should be something else?
No, I thought you were disagreeing. Like, I thought you were bringing up a problem.
No. I'm just saying. Like,
it's really hard not seeing your face.
Yeah. I know. I'm having trouble with this as well. Hopefully, this doesn't last too long. But
yeah, well, we just got to do what we got to do, right? So perfect.
Do what we got to do.
Iron Tree Forest, temperate rainforest on the western side of this mountain range.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I love it.
I wonder how much, like, I'm really hung up on this deciduous tree thing. I think that's probably why it sounded like a problem in my head.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know how much, like in Manitoba, we're a temperate grassland, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean we don't have trees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's a hard and fast rule that if you have a temperate rainforest, then you don't have deciduous trees. Like obviously, they must have birch trees.
I've been there.
Right? Yeah,
they have them. We've both been to BC, right?
Yeah, but that was like almost 10 years ago for me.
Mine was like 5. No, not even, because I went on vacation like 2 years ago. Yeah, like they got both.
Yeah.
And also, it's a fantasy world. It can be whatever we want it to be.
That's true. I went to a really cool temperate rainforest called Cathedral Grove.
Okay.
That's on Vancouver Island, and that was beautiful.
Yeah. So again, a lot of it comes down to like how much real world physics do you want in your fantasy world, right? Like, does it make sense? Does it have to make sense? Does part of it make sense, or is there a mix, right?
Yeah. And I think the good thing about going more like maybe a little more scientific or hard in your approach is then you can find more things to, like when you're looking up tropical rainforest or temperate rainforest, you can type that in and you'll get all the characteristics of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you make it kind of like loosely defined, just makes it, I don't know, I guess then you can put whatever you want in there though then.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a fantasy world. Theoretically, there's magic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to count that for something. Also, I like the way I come about to it is I like kind of knowing the baseline of the science, but then like moving it to how I need it, right? Like,
yeah, no, I think I do the exact same thing.
If I'm in my head, there's a bunch of deciduous trees in this area. That's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even like cross my mind that there wouldn't be until you said it. Yeah.
So, okay, so now we basically defined the geography, and now we continue to like zoom in on the location or like pinpoint it, right?
Yeah.
Because by being a temperate forest, I didn't say this in the first part, but boreal forest occurs between 50 and 60 degrees north latitude, right?
Okay.
And then the tropical is between the basically between the 30 degrees north and south.
Okay.
So that would mean like temperate is in between that, like 30 to 50 degrees latitude, right? And so that means that that's where we are here. If this is this planet we're making similar to Earth,
okay,
you know, be between 30 to 50 degrees north latitude, right?
Okay.
Because we picked north.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I'm just saying that we're just narrowing it down, right?
Okay. Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah. And then it's the montane forest.
Yeah. So Clearwater Crossing specifically, like if we're going to zoom right in now, because we did say we're going to do a little bit more here. I view it more of like a trading post, basically. Like kind of after we were talking about it in my head, I picture it a lot like Laura Fort Gary.
Okay.
Kind of like there's some homes and there's like a fort and there's like a general trading post store, but then like it's really just like a waypoint. So if we're gonna make a general store, who's running this place? Like,
okay, so this is probably what the biggest thing in the in Clearwater Crossing.
Yeah, it's probably literally like a general store, supply depot. This is where you're getting your tools. This is where you're bringing your furs. This is where you're bringing your medicines.
Yeah, because we also said like the water is real fast and dangerous up to this point, and then from here is when they start traveling down the river, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, so they would have to have a harbor of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Or well, maybe not a harbor, but you know what I mean, like a dock.
Mm-hmm. A dock and some...
or a launching point or something, right?
Yeah, something. Some kind of dock.
But anyways, so you want to make the general store. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Okay. General store. Okay. What kind of person do you think is running it? You think it's a human?
Yeah, I like this like middle-aged dude. Honestly, I'm picturing our friend Brad. Just like done with everybody's shit though.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. So like I'm going to name this guy Bradford.
Nice. Okay.
And he's got a small family, and maybe his wife is a herbalist, goes out and collects medicines from the forest, and he just like runs this shop. Maybe sells burgers.
Okay. Do you think the general store would be attached to the river somehow? Like maybe they're also the ones to ship the things?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking like basically anything that comes through here goes through this place, right? So boats come up or down, and they all kind of like go through this.
Not too many would come down, right?
I mean, like launch from here. From the mountains. It's more what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like, this is where they're shipping the wood from. This is where they're shipping anything out of Bunny Log from. It all goes through here, like almost like a depot. More of a depot than an actual like store. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, but you can buy things.
Yeah, well, like the citizenry would probably have to. Like, I don't imagine this to be a big community.
Okay, so this is the center of everything, basically.
Yeah.
So, do you think? I mean, we'll come back to the inn. I don't want to leave not the inn, this general store. But I wanted to say, do you think there would be an inn?
I would think there might be something like a bunkhouse, but maybe not a dedicated inn.
Okay. Something a little more formal because it's mainly for Bunny Log.
Yeah.
And so like the company or whatever, like Fergus Longforge would probably furnish some sort of bunkhouse or something for them.
Yeah, exactly. So like it'd be for people making the stop. I don't really see. This is one of those like usually I would say put an inn anywhere. But this is one of the ones where it's like small enough that I don't think it would have an inn, but it would have like a bunkhouse or something, or a barracks or something like that.
Yeah, and so in the absence of the inn, you still need everything that an inn provides.
Yeah, exactly, but without the dedicated, this is an inn. So I would say like there's a bunkhouse and maybe like, you at the general store you can buy whiskey or beer or whatever, but like not as like in a
so
bar.
Let's go back to Bradford then.
Sorry?
I said let's go back to Bradford.
Okay.
Let's figure out what the name of this depot is called. Or is it just called the depot? Like, does it have a name?
Clearwater Depot.
I kind of like the idea of some sort of elf.
Okay.
Being good with animals, you know? But then I'm conflicted because it's like, well, Stables isn't necessarily kind to animals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about
like the elf? Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Like a half elf.
Okay. I like that.
Maybe he grew up here, right, in the human society bit. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like the half elf. Do you think he's the farrier and the stable guy?
Probably.
So does that mean then he would be working for Bunny Log, technically?
Yeah, probably be working for either for Bunny Log or for the depot.
Yeah.
Or for himself. Who knows? He might be an independent contractor.
Well, but a contractor, I mean, still they'd be working for someone.
Yeah, so let's call him what's a good name? What do you think?
I'm not too sure. I'm just trying to think of like where these elves come from now.
Yeah, that's another thing that we should talk about. The Elven Village, which I think we'll save for another episode. I think we'll save that for next week.
Well, maybe we don't have to name them then just yet.
Yeah, like we can. Okay, so how about let's get naming names from let's ask our audience again. Name our stable / farrier guy and his business name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Half elf dude.
Tell us about him. Who is this guy? Cool. So we have the depot. What's Bradford's wife's name? The herbalist.
Oh, geez. I feel like for some reason it's got to start with an A.
Yeah.
What about Ashlyn?
Ashlyn?
Yeah.
I like it. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Ashlyn and Bradford.
Ashland Bradford of the Clearwater Depot. I like it. All right, cool. I think we also suggested that we have like a goat herd or something in town.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So,
but now I'm thinking about it. Like, do you think there would even be? Like, would it make any sense? I mean, you have hunters getting their meat and everything, you know?
Yeah, I think it would make more sense up in Bunny Log. I think we're going to do a Bunny Log Revisited soon, or in a few episodes later, where we kind of flesh that out more. And same with any other town that we're doing, where we're going to probably roll around back and add stuff that we missed.
Yeah, no, I find with world building, like you got to kind of jump around a bit.
Yeah, so I think we'll put a pin on that. And yeah, so what we got today, we defined like where the forest was, what the name of it was. We've got the depot. We've got an unnamed farrier / stable keep.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to name the mill or sawmill? I mean,
yeah, sawmill. Yeah, we could. I'm just trying to think of like naming conventions, you know, for sawmills. And I feel like it would just be called the Iron Tree Mill, or
I like it, Iron Tree Mill.
Yeah. Okay.
Boom. Run by a woman named Evelyn.
Why Evelyn?
I don't know. It just came to me.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. So we got Evelyn and the Iron Tree Mill.
I feel like her last name should just be Iron Tree.
I like it. She's tough as nails. Perfect. And we got a bunkhouse, just the Clearwater bunkhouse. We got a trading post. We got a stable. I like it. I think we did a good chunk of stuff here. All right. And with that, we're going to talk about our weekly inspiration now. So, Greg, what inspired you this week?
Okay. Well, this week I was going down that biome just rabbit hole like crazy. And I was looking into rivers a lot because I think we're going to do that on another episode at some point. And yeah, really jumped out at me as like there's just so much. My brain's still kind of swirling from it. If you can tell.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not even all here. I don't know. But I did have a crazy dream.
Okay.
Where I got a couple different names.
Okay.
And so I think I'm going to go with that as my weekly inspiration.
Nice.
Yeah, I just remember waking up and there was like a couple names that I remembered. One was the Bowery.
The Bowery?
And it was just like this grove kind of place
next to a cool.
city. And then apparently there were some hills that were called like the hills of Polamit.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about it. So I wrote those down as soon as I woke up. And I thought, okay, that's cool. I have no idea where those came from, but they're going to go in my world or go somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so
this week?
I was working on something this week. I kind of put the orc stuff aside, and a few weeks back I told you about the set of characters, the twins, the dragon folk twins.
Oh yeah, right.
So I was like wanting to do a short story about them, and I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, okay, well, what do I do? Like, what inspiration do I have? So what I did last night and the last couple nights is I went on Skyrim on my Skyrim, and I loaded up the mods, and I went through and found a couple to make it. I grabbed like a camping mod and a couple other things just to make it a little more immersive. And I made a new character who is this I used an Argonian to make this dragon folk looking person. And okay, cool. I modded in the sibling. And then I've been just doing bounties, and I haven't been doing any of the main quest stuff at all. Just random bounties and jobs for people, and haven't been using any fast travel. Just we bought a horse and we were riding down the road and stopping to camp for the night and making food and eating that, and it's kind of like making me kind of think of like some story ideas, right? Like and then the headspace of these characters. So that's what I've been doing.
Smart, actually.
Yeah. So that's like kind of what I've done a few times in the past, is like just do random stuff on Skyrim until something hits me, right? Inspiration wise. And yeah, I think I got the startings of a short story about these two twins.
That's cool. But that's not random, like that one, right? You really set that one up with an intention there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like random
that's
at
cool.
all, but like
well, I'm not saying that you've never done the randomness, but just for this time, you know.
Yeah, so I was really like just thinking, like, where do I go? Like, who are these people? What are they doing? Right?
Yeah. No, that's smart. Like you're going with, okay, I know this, but I don't know what to do with it.
What to do with it. So literally I've been just running around the map, camping. Like I was just doing short, like close stuff. And then like we bought a second horse, because I modded in that the follower like uses the horse. And like, so we're starting to do some further missions where it's like we got to stop and camp, and it takes 2 days to get there or whatever, and then back.
Well, that's really cool, because yeah, then you'll know how long it takes to get somewhere.
Yeah,
in your story, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I found like, and it's different between going along the road and going cross country, and I've been trying to follow the roads because it's a little easier. But then like I accidentally went down a wrong road, went to the wrong fork, and it ended up like in like a dead end, and then I had to like go across country for a bit. Running into all sorts
that kind of thing would help you write your story.
Like, yeah, and also like having to protect those horses from wolves and stuff is such a pain. I think my Skyrim playtime mostly consists of like the first bit, and then I make a new character.
Yeah, making those characters is fun.
Yeah, I just like making characters. So yeah, that's what I did. All right, cool. So next week, I think we're going to talk about rivers.
Yeah, I think that's good. I was also thinking, like, what do you think? Do you think we should go down the river a bit and then maybe make a coastal city?
Yeah. So what I kind of want to do is I want to explore this Elven enclave settlement first.
Okay.
And spend a little bit more time in the forest and along the river. But I think eventually we're going to work our way down to a coastal city. That's what we're going to do. So I think what we're going to do is do the river, do whatever is left in the forest, do maybe like a farming village on the way to the city, and work our way there. I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, because that forest land would be just prime agriculture.
Yeah.
A temperate forest like that.
Exactly. And to sustain a city, you need agriculture. Anyway, so with that, I think we're going to call it. Again, I hope everyone is staying safe. I know these are hard times for everybody. I didn't really like recording remotely, and I know you didn't, and I'm sure most people don't like this kind of thing, but I mean, we got to do what we got to do. And if anyone wants to reach out to talk, let us know. Hit us up on Building Blank, a collaborative world building podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Building Blank Podcast. You can hit our Gmail, buildingblankpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, any comments, anything, even if you just want to say hi or want to talk or anything.
Yeah. Or like if you have an idea for a village or a town or a city, just let us know. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, just throw it out there. Or even like people. If you want to make a character and insert them somewhere in our world, let us know. We will do it.
Yeah, like if you have a D&D character you really like, you can just straight up send us that person.
Oh, also, check out our World Anvil. We have the link on our Facebook. Let me just find it here. www.worlanvil.com/w/blank-building blank is our World Anvil. And we're going to be adding everything we make to that. So that's kind of like have articles on everything is what we're aiming to do.
Yeah, I think it'll be kind of like our encyclopedia.
Yeah, that's what we're going to use for now.